What was your record?
Approximately 250 wins and 50 losses. Within reason, you have to get hit to learn. I know boxers who've died, so I looked at my battle with cancer as a training camp. Life sucked for months.
Welcome to the Bean Path Podcast. I am your host, Abheet. Sathe. For today's episode, we're going to be interviewing somebody very special. He is my personal boxing coach, and he is also a retired professional boxer and has also been recently inducted into the Colorado Boxing Hall of Fame. So without further ado, Shane Swartz. Welcome.
Good morning.
Just for context, we're doing this at 7 a.m. So yes, good morning for sure. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, for the people that are watching and the people that are listening, just to give a little bit of context into who you are, what you do.
My name is Shane Swartz, born and raised in Fort Collins, amateur boxer and professional boxer for 27 years.
Yeah.
And now that I quit competing, I coach. My goal is to be a better coach than I was a boxer, so it's just a lot of fun, I guess. You know, it's more. Yeah. It's a lot less risk.
Sure.
It's easier coaching than getting hit in the face. So that's.
Yeah. So let's dive a little bit deeper into just how you got into it. How did you get into boxing?
So when I was 4 years old, my dad took me to the gym, and he wanted me to learn to become athletic and gain coordination.
Uh-huh.
And what he made me do is he made me go to the gym every day until I learned how to jump rope. After a few, I don't even know, months, I figured it out, and it was a lot of fun hanging out with the older kids.
Yeah, for sure.
I kept going. My dad was a pretty tough character, so he made me stick with it regardless if I wanted to do it or not.
Was he super into boxing, and he just...
I don't know that question. So my dad passed away 25, 30 years ago, so
okay.
I don't have... And when our communication was limited, his old school dad who didn't talk,
yeah.
He was never a boxer. He was a farm kid from Nebraska who was a tough guy.
Yeah.
And he was very honoring, and he liked to fight, but not in the ring.
When you were younger and you're trained for boxing by your dad, what was your training camp like? What would be like a typical day in the life?
Wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and run. Go to school from 7 to whatever time, 8 to 4. And then my dad had me play 5 sports at one time, so I was always doing stuff.
Oh my gosh.
So what I remember vividly is girls basketball was they'd alternate weeks. So some weeks the girls played first and the guys played second. They used the gym. Mm-hmm. So when the practice was, when the girls went first, I got permission from the school to hang a heavy bag in the weight room, and I'd work out. I'd work out for 2 hours before I went to basketball practice.
Wow.
And same thing with football and soccer. And
I remember on your Instagram you had, I think it was like a news article or something, of them writing a story about you as like an aspiring becoming a professional boxer, and how you were like recognized at your high school and all that kind of stuff. What was it like growing up being a boxer? Did you get the girls?
No, I didn't. Not at all. I tried so darn hard. A joking story. One of my best friends is a female. Her name is Patience. I tried so hard to get one of her friends as a girlfriend. I went and watched The Sound of Music for 2 to 3 hours, whatever it was, to try to get a date with her or whatever I did. I endured The Sound of Music just to try. So I was always the friend.
Friend zoned.
Yeah, but it's but I got an awesome wife now.
Yeah.
Being a they called us elite athletes back then in boxing. To be an elite athlete in high school was tough because I missed a lot of school.
Yeah, because you're traveling,
training
right?
camps. But I'd have to do my schoolwork. I'd fax back when faxing was the thing to do.
Oh gosh!
I had to fax all my homework back to school, and we train 6 hours a day, still do schoolwork. It was rough, and I don't. When my dad died, I lost a lot of memory of what happened at that stage in my life. So I really hope I don't think I was a cocky kid, and I hope I wasn't. And a lot of people tell me I wasn't, but I really hope I wasn't. I think I was confident. I was good at football too, and good at soccer and basketball. I was a 5-sport athlete, so I was a good athlete. But I hope I wasn't cocky.
I want to dive deeper into how you sort of developed in your boxing career, because obviously at such a young age you took it pretty seriously. When did you start, getting into actual like organized fights, and when did your amateur career officially start?
So I was born in 1975. I started boxing about when I was 1980, and back then you could be whatever age you wanted to be to compete. So we were 5 years old competing, and I competed for I want to say 3 years, and then they made a rule there's USA Boxing made a rule you had to be 10 years old to compete, but that lasted like 6 months before it got overturned to be 8 years old. So I never really went a time without competing. I won my first state tournament and it was called the Spring Hill Invitational.
Okay.
When I was 6 years old.
Wow.
I don't even know what I weighed, probably 60 pounds or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
But it was organized, sanctioned, and back then, now they have what they call pass books, where they keep record of who you competed against. Mm-hmm. But that back then they didn't have that, so you just and it was how they do. Obviously, things get better as life goes on, but back then we'd all drive to Denver or to wherever we went, and we'd have weigh-ins. Everybody weigh in, then all the coaches a couple hours later would go and do what they called matchups, and I've got a kid who's 10 years old, 10 fights, 50 pounds. And they say, I got somebody, and they match them up. But back when I was a kid, after, I'd probably say 50 fights, I was getting pretty good. So it was hard for me to find a fight. So my dad, to develop my skill set, would put me against older kids, tougher kids, heavier kids.
Older, yeah.
I remember there's one time we fought in Riverton, Wyoming, and I was 11 years old. And I whatever I weighed, but I remember, and I fought a 15-year-old.
Oh my
so
gosh.
4 years. I mean, it's only 4 years, but 4 years at that age, is a big difference.
Yeah, he's a teenager, and you're a preteen.
Yeah, and but that's how you learn back then.
That's
It's
crazy.
still how you learn. I mean, as you know,
Yeah.
when you practice sparring, you have to get. I mean, it's within reason. You have to get hit to learn. That's one of the things.
Right.
If you don't get hit, you're not necessarily really learning.
Right. So how long was your amateur career for, like from age 6 up to?
So my first fight was when I was 5 years old, and I stopped my amateur career after the 1996 Olympic box offs. So 16 years.
Okay. Yeah. What was your record?
I don't. So back then they didn't keep.
They
kept records, but approximately 250 wins and 50 losses.
My gosh, that's crazy. So at 16 is when you made the decision to turn essentially pro?
18.
18, okay. So you kept on fighting from 16 till 18 and then...
So I don't want to say everybody, but most everybody's goal as an amateur boxer is to go to the Olympics. And so when I was 16 years old, when I was 15 years old, I won my first national tournament when I fought in the Marquette, Michigan in the Junior Olympics. I won my first national tournament. And then I went to 16 years old, and back then they called it a senior. You're in open class, you have over 10 fights. And I went to the national tournament, and I got pummeled as a 16-year-old.
Really?
Because back then, you fight anyone from 16 to 33 years old.
Oh my gosh.
All in the same weight class. So the first year I went and I got beat by a guy named Cassius Matthews, who's from the Army, who a 16-year-old versus a grown man from the Army was pretty intense. But that was how it was back then. But the second year, when I was 17 years old, I fought a guy by the name of Eric Wright, who's also from the Army, and he beat me in the finals.
Oh, I see.
So in 1993,
okay,
1993, he beat me. I took second. I was rated number 2 in the United States. 1994, I fought again, and I was at the nationals. You fought 5 times. You fought 4 days in a row. Take Friday, assuming you win. To take Friday off, and you fight in the finals on Saturday.
I see.
And this year, 1994, I knocked my first 4 guys out.
Jeez.
And went to the finals and was not able to knock out the guy, Stephen Beats, it was his name, in the finals. But because of I won the national title, but then also knocking 4 guys out was pretty cool. So I was also the outstanding boxer of the tournament.
That's crazy.
And then in 1995, I came back again, and I won again. But the tournament was in March, and my dad passed away in January.
Okay.
So there's a bit of drama there, and but I didn't want to fight because he passed away. He was my coach.
Yeah.
But I fought for him, and I was able to win the national title again. And I won back-to-back outstanding boxer trophies. So that was pretty cool.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
1996, the year of the Olympics, completely choked.
Really?
Completely choked.
Oh.
So what happened was, not really in the specific order of my career, but when my style was very aggressive.
Okay.
And not the ideal way to do it, but I would not be afraid to get hit because I'm pretty confident I could hit you harder than you can hit me.
Okay.
So in the 1994, I started knocking people out.
Okay.
And I got, obviously in retrospect, I got pretty proud of myself. So I was trying too hard to knock people out. And then in 1996, I was just loading my shots and telegraphing them too much and just got beat.
What was your money shot?
Well, my style that is still often spoken about amongst us old guys was I switched from orthodox to southpaw.
Oh, okay.
So I'd fight in the orthodox stance and do whatever, but then I'd switch to southpaw and have them draw them into throw a right hand, and I slip and counter with a 2-3,
Gosh.
and I won.
So, I'm a little curious for this part. How did you come up with your nickname Hurricane? What was the backstory?
I didn't come up with it.
How did it come to be?
Shucks. Well, I know I don't even know who gave it to me. I guess my style of boxing, I was very relentless.
Okay.
And I was not afraid to get hit, which is not the idea. It was not how I coach now.
Right.
But I would, like a hurricane, you just keep coming and coming and coming. And my dad was not a boxer himself, as I said before. So basically, what he taught me to do is work harder than anybody else, run further, do more push-ups, do more sit-ups, and just work harder. So I had that mentality, and I just kept going and going and going.
Yeah.
And like a hurricane.
Was he your boxing coach for your entire, I guess, career until he passed, or was there somebody else involved as you started getting more and more experienced?
My first boxing coach when I was 4 was a gentleman by the name of Dan Hagens, who's known in Fort Collins, the Hagens family.
Okay.
My dad had a disagreement of coaching styles with him, so he started his own gym. The gym was called Choice City Boxing.
Okay.
And then, so I was that from Choice City Boxing for my entire amateur career. And then when I was 17, I started getting good or better or nationally recognized, won a national title. So at that point, my dad handed me off to a coach down in Colorado Springs. His name is Dickie Wood.
Okay.
And in the Colorado Springs is where the Olympic Training Center is at, where all our training camps are at. So I was that's kind of the
where you needed to be, right?
Professional boxing is Vegas, amateur boxing is Colorado Springs.
I see.
So I was down there, and he's a cowboy, so we were on the ranch and we'd have to chase cows, run hills. It was a mess, but the old Rocky style.
And speaking of the Colorado Springs, you did compete in the Olympics, right?
So no, I did not.
Okay, what was it then? Because
so it's different now, but what they did before is you'd have to fight. There's something called the Olympic Festival, which is was a yearly event where the top 4 guys in the United States compete for a tournament, and I won that 2 out of 3 years. I won it in 93, I won it in 94, and got beat in 95. Okay. But then then you fight in all these tournaments, and you get invited to be part of the what they call the Olympic box office, which is the top 8 people in the United States. And it's the only tournament that is a double elimination. So I fought in the Western Trials. I fought the National PAL tournament, and I was predicted to win, but again I choked, so I didn't win the National PAL. I went to the U.S. Championships in 1995, 96, and lost that as well. Okay. So my last hope was to win the Western Trials. Just a tournament with everybody from the west of the Mississippi. Okay. And that was in Casper, Wyoming, and I won that. I see. So that put me to the Olympic box office that were in Oakland in 1996, top 8 people, and then I just ended up not producing the proper results that might maximize my ability. Okay. So I missed that, so I turned pro shortly thereafter.
How old were you when that happened?
18.
18, okay.
It's not an excuse, but it's an excuse. Is my dad died, and I wasn't there, and it was tough. My dad passing away when I was 18 was very, very obviously tough, but it really, really very detrimental to my boxing career.
I see. What are some memorable moments you have in your professional career when you were 18? Was there a particular fight? Was there a particular moment? Was there a particular coach or something that sort of propelled you to the next level as you entered in your professional career?
So I was being an Olympic alternate, you have a lot of people coming to sign you and stuff like that. I was offered to be signed by Top Rank by Don King, and the manager that I had at the time, based out of New York, we decided not to sign with anybody.
Okay.
Which obviously hindsight's 2020, but I wish I would have.
Okay.
If you have a promoter, they build you up properly, and they manage your life.
Yeah.
Which is
a little bit easier.
Is easier, but then as an 18-year-old, you don't want people telling you what to do.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I had my manager out of New York, and they build your career. So the first guy that I fought, I remember his name, Mauricio something. I fought in Boston, and our first gloves, my first pro fight, I remember there being horsehair in the gloves.
Really?
And all the horsehair had moved to the front of the glove, so there was no padding on the knuckles, and you have no headgear as a pro either.
Right.
So I was terrified.
Oh my gosh.
I was terrified because obviously it's his first pro fight, you're nervous, but I was able to win that fight by second, third round knockout. So because I had an accomplished amateur career, because I had a manager, they built my career properly. They didn't put me against a top dude right off the bat. They helped me perfect my craft as a pro, better understand the breathing, and just develop that way. When I was, you asked earlier about my first pro loss.
Yep.
I was 9-0 as a pro, and I thought I was pretty proud of myself, which is extremely detrimental in the boxing career. But I went out there, and I'm not a cocky person, but I had girls walk me out.
Oh,
I had a song playing, and I fought a guy. His name was David Robinson, and I think his record was 23 wins and 49 losses. So in the boxing world, they call that an opponent, meaning they're the B side. They're supposed to lose. Yeah. But he hit me and dropped me, and he knocked me out. So,
KO, huh?
Yeah.
Was your first loss?
Yeah, it was my first loss.
Oh gosh. How'd you bounce back from that?
So it's a bit embarrassing to acknowledge this time in my life, but I was lost as a kid because of my dad, and I did not behave like a professional because of a lot of just being lost. My dad was my coach for so many years, and he was my coach, my dictator, he controlled my life. Yeah. And when he died, I had nobody. I was lost. Yeah. And so a lot of my behaviors were not obviously professional. So I actually there's a lot of stuff going through my mind at that stage in my life. Yeah. So I if I recall correctly, I think I retired after that. Oh wow. Retired the first time. Wow. Because I was lost. I didn't know what was going on with my life. I had a girlfriend. I had a just immature teenage, early 20s life behaviors, and then not in any order. But then I was also signed with the manager out of New York. Okay. I had a 5-year contract with him, and I was 2 or 3 years into it. So after going through a bunch of life circumstances, probably a year later, I decided to come out of retirement. Oh wow! And fight again. And then I had to sit out 2 years. So I sat out the 5. I was 3 years into it. Had to sit out the remaining 2 years. So okay, I sat those 2 years out, being lazy, being unprofessional, and then I came back and I went back with my old. He's an old time friend. He refereed one of my first amateur boxing matches, but now that I was not under contract, I was your typical. Even though I had a great amateur record, and I was 9-1 as a pro, I still had the name, the experience, but I didn't have the money behind me to build me up correctly. I see. So I had a guy out of another manager out of Florida, former fighter himself, Tom Gaffney, who helped me out, and he built my career, but it wasn't at the extent that it was before. I see. So I got another couple wins, and then I fought. I was a national level fighter and a world caliber boxer, so I had the skill set to win and to beat these guys. So I started taking big fights, and I was not winning those fights. I fought Malik Scott, he's known to be Deontay Wilder's trainer.
Oh, really?
So I fought him. He's 6'5", 250 pounds.
Oh my
I'm not
gosh.
that big, so I fought him as a
I was
heavyweight.
gonna ask you, did you shift any your weight classes as you got older?
Yes.
What was that progression like?
So as an amateur, I fought at 165, which is the middleweight.
Yeah.
Pro is 168, and I fought at 68 as a pro until I retired the first time.
Okay.
Then because of my lack of professionalism and dedication to myself in the sport, I moved up to cruiserweight.
Okay.
Which back then was 190 pounds.
Okay.
But then to get the fights, to get the paydays, and a lot of people fight for the money.
Yeah.
You know, and not to because they're good at it or there's the sport or whatever else. But so I started fighting for money to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And I fought at heavyweight. I fought
Gosh.
Malik Scott. There's another one, Calvin Brock. I fought him in Pennsylvania. He was a 2000 Olympian as a heavyweight. So somebody I just took the fights to I had the ability to win. I just didn't prepare properly.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in the right mindset to win.
At the end of your career, what was your record, pro career?
18-6.
18-6.
All of my losses except for that one guy were to undefeated fighters.
Oh, okay.
So how I went from good amateur to good pro to retiring to come back and to excelling as a pro. In 2006, I was the B side.
Oh, wow.
Brought in to fight Dale Brown,
Okay.
who was number 2 in the world. His fight previous was for the world title, and a lot of people, including myself, think he won, but he lost.
Wow.
So I was his comeback fight, and I fought and I trained with a new trainer, Trevor Whitman, who's super famous now with the UFC.
Okay.
He trains Gaethje and Rose.
Okay.
Trains a lot of top guys. He was my boxing coach, and a very, very, very smart fighter, or coach, sorry. So I trained to fight Dale Brown, and it was on ESPN out in Hollywood, Florida, at the casino, and I did well. I fought like I was supposed to. I was prepared properly, and the fight I got cut. I forget which eye, but I got cut in the 5th round, and it was bleeding into my eye, and I couldn't see. So in boxing, you go to the scorecards after the 4th round, and I won 4 out of 5 rounds, so I won the fight.
All right. In your pro career, who to you was your toughest opponent?
That's a very good question. Toughest opponent as far as skill set, or like toughest opponent like they could take a beating?
Whatever. But
So that's a good question. Let me think about that. Obviously, Dale Brown was my most skilled opponent. He was a Canadian Olympian.
Okay.
But I beat him just
on the B side, yeah.
Through hard work. But my last 2 fights, I fought a guy, Gregory Drodz, Drodzd, something like that, in Germany. And he knocked me out. He was a very skilled fighter. He was an undefeated fighter. Ended up becoming a world champion. I fought Vadim Tokarev in Poland, and he knocked me out as well. He was a very tough fight. But so like I said, all my losses except for that one were to undefeated fighters. So I fought at a very high level career.
Yeah.
And fight. Not that I'm super cool, but I fought.
You didn't take like handout fights, easy wins.
I fought tough guys.
Yeah.
I can say I know for sure my toughest amateur fight was Ariel Hernandez. He's a Cuban, 2-time Olympic gold medalist. I fought him in 1994. I went to Russia and fought in the Goodwill Games.
Okay.
I won the first fight against a guy from Turkey, beat a fellow American in the semifinals, and I fought Ariel Hernandez for the finals, and he you throw this shot, that left uppercut.
Yeah.
I thought he was throwing a body shot, so I defended my body, but he turned the punch over and threw it right in my solar plexus, and many of us other USA boxers that have fought him, it's a patent punch for him.
I see.
The other guys, middleweights, former teammates of mine that also fought him, he catches all of us with it. And he hit me in the solar plexus, and I froze. I couldn't sneeze, I couldn't blink, I couldn't move, I couldn't smile, I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And I just, what was probably 5-10 seconds seemed like an hour. Because it hurt so freaking bad.
Oh my gosh. How would somebody like an orthodox fighter like you defend against that shot?
I have no idea. I've never been asked that question before. I've never thought of it. My first thought is don't stand. Excuse me. Don't stand in center to allow him to hit you there, and also be more offensive so he can't give you an opportunity to counter.
Okay. Yeah.
You know? But then we just talked about Gervonta Davis and Garcia this weekend. So Davis or Garcia was being offensive and he got hit with that body shot. So when you're offensive, you obviously allow yourself the opportunity to be countered.
Yep.
And it hurts, man. Body shots hurt.
Yeah. And he got hit with what they call the liver shot, where it just shuts down your body completely. Like your mind is there, but your body's just like no.
And you can't.
Yeah.
And people say you're it's a big fight. He should have been training for it. He should have just continued, which I agree. But I didn't get hit with that shot, but I've been hit with that shot before, and you just don't have the ability to. You don't have the ability to stand up.
Yeah.
And there's no. I don't know how to explain it. You're paralyzed.
It's almost again like I wouldn't say it's quite to the. This is definitely probably like a scaled back version of it, but like whenever you've played sports as a young kid, getting the wind knocked out of you.
Yeah.
You just can't do anything.
It's very similar.
Yeah.
Although their differences, they're very the same because you just and also at the same level. I mean, you're a kid, you don't know how to push through it. But you can't.
Yep.
You know, you got the desire to stand up and go back and play with your friends, but you just can't.
So let's transition a little bit. So now that you are a pro boxer and you just when did you retire first and foremost?
I'm sorry, say it again.
When did you retire the second time?
2008.
2008. How old were you at the time?
Oh, I was 32. 30.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say is the career length for a professional boxer typically?
Mine is too long, and that's a good question. I talked about this yesterday with one of my boxers. I think every boxer has a life.
Yeah.
And I think 10 years is the life of a boxer. And mine was 27 years.
Yeah, tough.
I've got twin boys, similar to your twins.
Yeah.
And everybody asks me if they want to box. And the kids don't want to box, which I'm fine with. But if I wanted them to box, obviously I have an influence. I don't want them to box until they're probably 12 or 13.
Yeah.
You know, and then 12 or 13, 10 years, I think, till they're 25 would be good, you know. But I think for, obviously, we've become more knowledgeable about the body and the health as we've progressed. But like, I have no idea how many concussions I've had.
Really?
Thousands, I mean, hundreds, whatever. But for safety, for the kids, you obviously don't want your kids to get hurt. So I think only so much, the body can only take so much damage. And I think it's not ideal. Obviously, the brain's fully developed, or not fully developed yet. But
right.
But I think for health reasons, there's you showing your career showing me so long.
You're right. For you personally, what sort of lasting impacts did your boxing career have on you physically?
So my right eye, when I fought in Poland in 2006, I got hit Austria. I got hit really hard, causing double vision.
Okay.
And so not knowing what happened and not having the insurance and the maturity to take care of myself, I kept fighting.
Oh, man.
So it kept healing, and that was my career. My profession was to make money and fight. So when I had the double vision, I would close my right eye to just to see single.
Oh gosh.
And so that's why this right eye is closed.
Oh
It's
man.
smaller. But I've had a bunch of surgeries to fix it, and now I still see double. So when I'm looking at you right now, it's double. If I go this way, it's fine.
Really?
So, yeah. So the double vision, I've had surgery. So my left eye was here, my right eye was here.
Okay.
And then I've had a surgery to correct it to here, so I can't. And the doctors tell me it's 1 millimeter off to cut the muscle to get it in line. But if it's 1 millimeter is obviously small.
Yeah.
But if they overdo it, my eye goes here. So my brain for the last 15 years has got accustomed to seeing things like this.
That, yeah.
So if they go over this way, it'll completely mess it up.
Gosh.
And then I also had LASIK surgery to fix my vision. My left eye, I can see far away. My right eye, I can see close. So it's challenging.
It's the whole mess of things.
So that, and then also the reason why I asked to have the the interview this morning is because as I get tired, I start to mumble. I still mumble now, but it gets worse at night when I get tired.
Wow.
So slurred speech and some vision problems. But in all actuality, there's a lot of my peers that I grew up with who I don't want to say I speak better than, but I don't mumble nearly as much as they do.
Yeah.
And I'm healthy. I'm not. I'm very, very grateful because a lot of my friends have been. One of my buddies has been paralyzed from boxing, from getting hit.
Jeez.
I mean, so I know boxers who've died, so it's real.
It's tough. Yeah, it is real. So transitioning from your career, I want to move on to the Knockout Cancer Boxing fundraiser. You want to describe that a little bit? What it is, how long you've been doing it, what's the purpose behind it?
A little over 3 years ago, I developed throat cancer, and life was tough. I could not eat for 4 months. I lost 45 pounds.
My gosh.
Couldn't swallow, and you have no idea how much you swallow until you can't swallow. And so then my mom and my sisters and my wife put together a fundraiser, a bowling fundraiser, to help raise some money so I didn't go in medical debt.
Okay.
So at the time, I was the sole breadwinner of our family. My wife was a stay-at-home mom, taking care of our kids, our twins. So that was a challenge. But then when I went to the fundraiser, I was busy going to radiation every day, chemo a couple times a month, and so that was rough. So I was pretty much out of it. But when I went to the fundraiser, people from high school showed up.
Wow.
20 years, I haven't seen them for 20 years. Like, a lot of support was there. So what that did for me in my battle when I was overcoming the cancer was there's no words to express it.
Yeah.
Because doctors, the positive attitude and the prayers, all that stuff helps, and I know for a fact it does because I lived it.
Right.
And having that influence and that positivity and having the support really helped me out. So paying that forward, my background is boxing. I've been in boxing forever, so I put a boxing event together. The first year we did it down in Denver, and I had no idea if I was hoping to make $1,000 to give to somebody, but we ended up raising over $20,000.
Wow.
We gave $30,000.
Wow, that's crazy.
We gave 3 cancer recipients $10,000 each, cash to them. And we don't care what they do with it. Here's a check. Although it's a lot of money, but even more so than that, like it's the stress off their back that they don't have to worry about. And there's no guarantees that we're going to make any money, but like just to know that there's so many people that are dedicating their time and effort because they love you, they support you, they believe in you, they're here to help you in their battle. So, and then we did the second year, we did it over here at Power Play Sports, and we raised $50,000.
Wow.
and it's obviously my event, so I think it's pretty cool. But like my dad died of a heart attack. I don't give money to Red Cross. I have no idea where the money's going.
Right.
So the reason why I made the event the way I do, is because the money's going to the recipients. Yeah. Like this kind of off topic, my son wants to adopt a koala bear in Africa. I'm like, but with that purchase, you get a free backpack, you get stickers, all that stuff costs money. The koala bear is not getting any of the money, right? So with my fundraiser, the fundraiser that me and the team have put together, is the money goes directly to them, and we don't care we don't care what it goes to.
Right. How many years has this been in the works?
2 years.
2 years.
So we're doing the third one. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. So I have a board with 3 other board members. We just had our first meeting this past week to do another one. When is
this one scheduled for this?
We don't have a date or a venue yet. So if anybody out there is interested in helping us out, we'd love to have one. And then I don't know why. I mean, I know why, but I still get pretty choked up when I think about it. We're looking for recipients. So if anybody out there knows somebody who's in the battle, and needs some help, first and foremost are the prayers. Yeah. But then also we'll try to give you a couple dollars.
Yeah, for sure. How do you think the sport of boxing influenced your battle with cancer?
100%. And I honestly, I didn't prepare for that question. And it's real.
Like mental toughness, endurance.
I looked at my battle with cancer as a training camp. Life sucked for months, just like your training camp stinks, and there's good days and bad days. You win some, you lose some, and then I've been competing my entire life. So at the end of my competition, there's a trophy. My trophy was to take my family someplace. So I trained, I battled it, I did everything I had to do. I puked, nauseous, all the bad things that happen with cancer.
Yeah.
But I had that fighter mentality, and to push through it, not give up, and persevere for my end of being with my family.
Yeah.
And being there for my kids.
Yeah. How long were you battling the cancer for?
So when I don't know the real answer, but when I went to the doctor and I said I got a tickle in my throat, it feels like a sunflower seed, and he said that's just probably all it is a sunflower seed. I went back to the ear, nose, and throat doctor, and there was cancer on my tonsils.
Okay.
And the cancer transferred from my tonsils to my lymph nodes, and then it just spread.
Oh man.
So how long? So when that happened, I found that out in September. So interesting comment. I found out about that through boxing. So
really?
one of my boxers that I train, he's 6'7", guy, and he had nobody. I took him to go spar. He had nobody to spar. So like a true coach, I got in there and I sparred with him. And then when I went back, when I was driving home, my neck was swollen on the right side. So I went and it didn't go away. I put ice on it that night, it didn't go away. And then so 2 days later, I went to the doctor, and he thought it was the same doctor who said it was it was a sunflower seed. He said it was a clogged salivary duct.
Okay.
So and it still didn't get away. So on my anniversary, my 10-year anniversary, the doctor told me to go get a biopsy, and they took 7 chunks out of it, and that was torture. That biopsy.
How did they get it?
Though they just not a suction cup. They
Through your mouth?
no they through my neck.
Okay.
They obviously put me
Under. Oh, I see. Okay.
kind of under, not enough. Not enough. I was awake to feel it, and even
Oh
with the
gosh.
yeah. So then I then the biopsy showed I had cancer. So then they obviously put me into a treatment plan right away, and I had radiation. My plan was 7 weeks, 5 days in a row. Sorry, Monday through Friday for 7 weeks radiation. They just zap your neck, and then chemo once a month for 3 months.
Okay.
And chemo and radiation are rough. My overall battle when I started the treatment was 3 months.
Okay.
But I, like a true fighter, I thought I'd be back in fighting shape, ready to go again in 3 months, and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
It took me about 6-7 months to get back before I could go back to work.
And that was also when you were like, that was the issue you had with like swallowing too, right?
Yeah.
How did you eat?
I didn't. So to me, it's funny now. It was even funny back then, even though I had cancer. Is they wanted to put a feeding tube in me.
Really?
And I didn't want a feeding tube. So and you have to weigh in every time you go to radiation. Just obviously there's a health reason for that. And I knew I was losing weight. But I kept putting stuff in my pockets. I put keys. I put roller coders. I kept putting, and I was conscious of what I did. So I lost, on their scales, I lost 40 pounds. In reality, I lost like 50.
Oh gosh, that's funny.
I didn't want that damn feeding tube.
Yeah. So how did you feed yourself then?
You know those old people shakes called Ensure?
Yes.
I was supposed to drink 4 of those a day, but it hurt to swallow. So I only had 2.
Oh my gosh.
Which is not the ideal thing, but that's why I was so weak. But it was rough.
I can imagine. Gosh, man. So the fundraiser is in the 3rd year. What are you guys' plans for the fundraiser? Any new sort of developments, any new things you want to implement that you changed from the other years?
We want to so we actually just talked about this on Thursday. We want to highlight the recipients more.
Okay.
Because we did the fundraiser because the event was to raise money for the cancer people, the recipients, and they got the money and all that stuff. But we want to highlight them and get them more centralized and focused on, so they know that they're supported.
Right.
So kind of, I don't want to say highlight them, but then it's also when you're going through the battle, you don't want attention. So there's a balance of respecting that. I mean, you're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
You know, you're just trying to go to not forgive me for all the other cancer. For me, I was just trying not to die.
Right.
And it seems very surface, very just verbal, but it was real. Like when I went to bed, I didn't know if I was going to wake up the next morning.
Right. It's a battle. It really is, and there's. I think it's a really good thing you guys have going on, and I do feel like it. I mean, as you've probably seen, it's been making really a substantial impact to a lot of people. Do you see it going into, I don't know, different realms, or like?
I've always been an entrepreneur. I've got big plans, big ideas, but I would like to make it a national, do like nationwide.
Yeah.
And do one in Colorado, one in Utah, one in New York, just do the same thing nationwide. But it's also, there's just 3 of us that put it on, 4 of us that put it on. So it's we have a lot of help at the event, but we don't have a team of people who we talked about having a committee. So we wanted to do silent auction items.
Yeah.
We have a team of people doing that. So we had one person doing it. Instead of having one person, have a team of 5 people coordinating to kind of distribute some of the workload. We are doing great things to help the community and to build a community and to help the cancer recipients, but then we just need some help, put a committee to cross all the T's and dot all the I's.
Right. How rewarding has it been to, be on the other side of the boxing ring and training people? What's that been like?
So I try to be very genuine with my comments and don't sugarcoat things, and I don't talk to get likes or to get. I try to be very real with my speech and being very genuine in my comments. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
It's very, very rewarding. It's more rewarding than I anticipated. As a kid, I coached in Denver who he was being bullied. He had low self-esteem and he gained the confidence to compete. He's competed twice. But I don't train everybody to compete. It doesn't matter, but it just built the self-confidence to compete. I train a guy he's 83 years old, who's got Parkinson's.
Wow.
And it's just it makes him, I don't treat him like he's got Parkinson's. I make him throw the same damn punches everybody else does.
Yeah.
I don't take it easy on him. And that's what I think, I coach everybody. It's been very rewarding to see one of my, as it's embarrassing to acknowledge, and I haven't admitted it so far in this interview, but I had a drinking problem.
Oh, really?
When my dad died, a lot of the reasons why my career went south is because I didn't know how to handle the loss of my dad, so I took to alcohol.
Wow.
And so back to your question, I've been sober for over 6 years now, and it's helping. There's quite a few of us boxers that have addictions, but then it's also people that I'm training. This has been an outlet for them to find sobriety, and so helping. And then there's one of the guys that I coach, one of the kids that I coach. His dad has become sober because of this. So that I'm coaching the kid or coaching the boxer, but there's the families are seeing it as well. There's one guy I coached that his girlfriend, he's in support of him, is also getting healthy. They train together now because of it. So it has a snowball effect, and that's when I had cancer. Going back to the cancer thing, money is important. You have to have money to provide for your family, but it's not important.
Right.
When I was in bed struggling, all that I really wanted to do was be with family and pay attention to my health. So going back to the coaching, really, really prioritizing that for myself and for the athletes that I train, is just focus on your health and family. Because if you make an extra $10 or $100 or $1,000, that's helpful, but you still have to attend to your family.
Right.
So just keeping everybody, having an influence in people's lives to see the big picture and live a more fulfilled life is important.
One question I wanted to ask you, going back onto your career as a boxer, was there anything you would change looking back now when it comes to development of your career?
I mean, a life coach would have been helpful to help me manage my emotions. But maybe there was somebody. I was so lost, and I probably pushed a lot of people away. But as far as my skill set, I didn't go transition to a high caliber coach until I was 17.
Okay.
So maybe getting that involved sooner in my life would have been better.
Yeah,
But
sure.
I mean, it's obvious. I was pretty good as a 17-year-old. So whatever my dad did got me to that level. But I guess to enhance it, obviously progress and continue learning, have that coach implemented earlier in my career, maybe.
Yeah. I think you have interesting perspective on just boxing in general as a coach as well as a boxer. If there was somebody that came up to you and wanted to get into boxing, what piece of advice would you give them, or what sort of wisdom would you relate to them when it came to the sport of boxing, and whether they wanted to take it seriously or not?
So I say, without a doubt, 100% yes. I think everybody in their life should spar at least one time, because it's that the preparation, getting to that point, the discipline that it takes to get to the point to spar, and then that anxiety, the nervous that it takes to actually risk getting hurt or losing, is an obstacle that's hard to overcome. And I think that you do the same thing in life. You transition from one job to the next job is something new.
Right.
Overcoming that fear of the new and over the new boss or getting a promotion, whatever it is. Just having that parallel, having that challenge in life is super important. So as somebody wanting to compete, it's not, boxing's a very, very lonely sport. What you see on TV is not real. Like we talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
What we see on TV is years, months of preparation, and we see the final 12 minutes in the ring, or whatever the math is. I would say, heck yeah. I mean, I'd love to coach you. It's a great opportunity. I'd love the opportunity to share my knowledge with you, and it's my coaching styles. I coach you the skill set of boxing, but your job is to condition yourself, because I'm a very skilled boxer. If me and somebody fought right now, I've got the skill to win. However, I'm not in shape, so I'd only last 30 seconds. So you have to be in condition to do what you know how to do.
Right. Correct.
So I do the coaching, the boxing, the conditioning's on you.
What sort of struggles did you have as transitioning from a boxer to a coach? Because I know that even though it seems like it could be easy, I know there's probably a lot of things you had to learn, because it's a different side of the entire sport that you gotta.
So when you asked the question, I heard something different, and what I heard was, I was a boxer for 27 years.
Yeah.
That was my identity, and not being the person who gets the credit, not being the person who gets his hand raised, that was a very much an emotional challenge for me. And I'm grateful, but I accomplished a lot. So I was at a high level, and now not to be at that high level was a challenge. I fought on TV 15, 20 times, nationally ranked in newspapers, and now to be just in the corner was a much emotional struggle.
Yeah.
But over time, it's become much more rewarding than anticipated.
When it came to being inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame, did you get a phone call? Did you get an email? How did that happen?
So I planned a family trip in September, right after the fundraiser.
Okay.
Last year, I planned a trip for my family to go to Europe for my boys' spring break, and then in December, one of my friends, boxing coaches, Raul, called me and said, "Shane, you've been inducted to the Boxing Hall of Fame." And I was like, "Sweet, that's awesome." But it's also, but like, I never trained, I never did anything that I did to be in the Hall of Fame.
Correct.
Right, but that's a great accomplishment and recognition for that. But when he called me, I was like, I was so pumped, because it's also the 50th year anniversary that they're doing the induction.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool. The downside, though, I had already paid for my trip to Europe.
Oh gosh.
So when the induction happened, I was in Paris, and I did a Zoom call, FaceTime call in to be inducted. My mom and my sisters accepted on my behalf.
Wow. How special was that?
It's hard to explain, because it's in the speech that my sister gave on my behalf is, so when I was 16 years old, my dad sat me down at the dinner table and said, "Shane, do you want to have your name in the record book, in the rule book?" And I was like, "What the heck does that mean?" I'm 15 years old. I'm trying to get my grades up. I'm not chasing girls, whatever. I don't care about the rule book. But if you win the national title, your name gets printed in the rule book, and it never goes away. It never be replaced. Like, it doesn't matter, good or bad, whatever else, all the good in the world, all the bad in the world, you mess up, like, your name's still in that book. So I got my name in that book twice. And then on the same token, my name is in the Colorado Boxing Hall of Fame, and that's nothing can ever be taken away from me.
Yeah.
And it shows that my kids want to be in the Hall of Fame now.
Yeah.
They don't understand how much work it takes, you know. But so I think it's a great accomplishment, but it means a lot, and I can't articulate the right words to say how much it means. It's a my dad I used to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning as a 7-year-old and run to get in shape for boxing.
Wow.
With my dad following me behind in the car to make sure I didn't stop in the ditch and take a break someplace.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like all that stuff piled up for 27 years for that one recognition is pretty impressive. I'm proud of myself.
I think everybody can agree with that statement. That's very impressive. And I think it solidifies your sort of stamp and your impact in Northern Colorado. For yourself personally, as well as a business, what sort of things are you looking forward to now in the years coming as a coach and as an entrepreneur? What types of things are you planning, brewing up?
So one of the things that we're putting together is, I mentioned to you earlier, putting together a boxing program, a boxing class, a club, a team. My dad had the Choice City Boxing Club when we were kids, and it actually had a lot of impact on kids that keep them out of trouble, self-confidence, all the stuff that boxing does. I kind of want to extend that legacy and do it myself. And I mentioned to you earlier, one of my good buddies that started in Choice City Boxing and competed for years, Carlos Navarez, he took his own life a few months ago. And I really feel passionate about it. If he would have been committed to something and helping other people out, he would have had less of a likelihood to do that. And that's why I want to. Part of the idea that I have is not teaching just the skill set, but building a community of a safe place to be, of everybody,
right?
Male, female, young, old. I've got one lady I got a female police officer that I train. I got a guy who's addicted to alcohol, who's overcoming, who's using boxing. I've got a lady who is a recovering being trafficked.
Oh man!
You know, so it's like that's what I love about boxing is it doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, young, old. You get punched in the mouth, everybody bleeds red. Blood's red. So it's like it's a very unprejudiced sport.
Yeah.
You know, and I think having that, not to be vicious or like gruesome, but like it's like just having a safe place for everybody to come learn a skill set. And it's not boxing is great cardio, but I don't teach what I call fluffy boxing.
Right.
I teach everybody the proper skill set to throw the jab with proper technique, to reduce the probability of getting hit and increase the probability of scoring a point.
Right.
And it's at all levels. And I think so. Trying to create that, and I've already created another 501c3. It's Knockout Cancer Boxing Club.
Okay.
And a percentage, and another thing, trying to have purpose to. It's not about the money. It really isn't. But it's about, so when you do your gym dues, know that we're going to give a portion of 10%, 20% of the gym dues to cancer recipients.
Okay. So
when you pay for the month, you know you're earning, you're developing a skill, but you're also giving back to you're sharing, paying it forward type of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any personal goals, any business goals that you want to, manifest per se?
So, my best friend lives in Europe. He's in Russia right now. And we talked about just a couple of days ago about how important, how money is so important, right? You have to have it to survive. So to answer that question, not directly but indirectly, I want to have a good work-life balance and my health and a good family time.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to manifest I love coaching. I love working at my normal job to provide insurance for my family and having a balance of it all. Like I said earlier, my dad passed away at a young age, so the money doesn't matter. I'm more about experiences.
Right.
It's about sharing, helping, and manifesting that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first and foremost, I appreciate you hopping onto the podcast. I think you have a great life story to tell, and I hope that if there's anybody watching that wants to get into boxing, I think you're the perfect person for guidance in that and coaching. And so I'll make sure to attach all your socials here. Yes, and please. So if anybody here is interested in boxing and getting any type of instruction or anything like that, he's the right person to go to for sure. And I know that you have a lot of great things planned, and I do appreciate you once again taking the time to wake up early in the morning and come onto the podcast. And I'm excited to see what you have planned for the rest of the year.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. If anybody wants to reach out to him, I'll attach all their socials again.
Can I add something out real quick?
Yeah.
And if you don't, I coach everybody as if someday they're going to compete.
Yeah.
If you never compete, I don't care. It doesn't matter. But I think learning the proper way, the reason why I have you keep your chin down when you throw your jab, right? So it's not, you may never ever compete, but I want to teach you the proper style techniques. So if you never want to compete, I still want to train you.
Yeah. I think we're just trying to create a community, and
Yes,
I think boxing is a great sport for anybody to at least try, at the very least. And so once again, I appreciate you coming to the podcast. If there's anybody out there that is interested, go ahead and reach out to him. But otherwise, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you follow him on all of his social medias. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you like, comment, share, repost. This guy's got a great story to tell, so just be sure to share this, and I do appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.